How's it going? We're back and we're working on the Pontiac Fiero again, and we're going to be fixing the dashboard today. The tachometer is reading wrong and the trip gauge, the odometer, is not registering. So let's get to oh, I need the keys. I know it's a good couple screws and some plugs, so hopefully it'll come out pretty easy. And then I also bought some variable resistors. We're gonna solder this in to the circuit board and get that tachometer reading correct again. So I found on a forum there was some information about these GM dashboards not working right because of some of the resistors they used in factory. Instead of making new resistors, they laser cut them and causing them to fail prematurely. So what we're doing is basically cutting that out of the circuit board and replacing it with our own resistor and tuning it in so it reads correctly. You already see there's 5 screws up top that are, looks like T15, maybe T20 screws. T15 Torx. There's another screw down here. Alright, took that off. That was a good time to clean it because it's not very easy to clean. So let's take a look. You see, there's a bolt right here on the back, right there, and probably 2 below as well. Let's see what we can do. All right. Here. All right, remove the wiring harness clips like these. We're gonna be, there's 2 more bolts now that need to be removed. You can see them, those 2 bracket bolts right there. So this needs to come out just a little bit to get over that. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug everything. Alright, there's 2 bolts holding this front cover on. It's best to just remove those, give you better access. Yeah, now that that's out of the way, we can pull this up and through. There's still 1 plug left on that. Now everything's unplugged. It should come on out. Oh, 1 more plug underneath. And there's your dash. Alright, so we got our dash out. Pretty quick, pretty simple, pretty easy. Not a bad looking dash. It could use some cleaning, which I'll do. Just to take a quick look at what we got going on the inside before we go do that. There was 2 bolts. One right there on the bottom of this entire thing, and 1 down there you can see holding this together. There's 3 plugs going to the dash, left, right, and bottom left. So I'm gonna take off that bracket right here first. So now this can lay flat and we can deal with taking these bolts off. There's the plastic faceplate, which we are going to be cleaning as a piece. That's great. So we'll put that off to the side. Just a few more screws though. Alright. And then finally we have this centerpiece, which doesn't have an issue, but I'm going to take it out to clean it. So those are different length screws. The ones in the middle are shorter. Important to remember that. Let's take a look at this tachometer. We've got our circuit right here. We're going to be dealing with this section, which is this white cut resistor. So we're going to be soldering in our variable resistor from this point, the positive, straight up to this point. And then we're going to follow this point right here back to this pin, and we're going to be cutting this trace right here so it's no longer connected. And then we're going to, since we have the inline 4 engine, this is where you have to tune it yourself with the variable resistor. But since we have the inline 4, we're going to be looking for a resistance of 840,000 ohms. So we're going to use the 1 mega ohm resistor and use our multimeter, dial it down to 840 when we solder it in. So we have it nearly set at 0.84 mega ohms, or 840,000 ohms, how it is. So we're going to have the back lead and the front left lead be R2. Cut this lead off. Now after I install it, I'm just going to verify that it's correct, but this is going to be installed across these two right here. You can see that's going to be the perfect length. I'll flatten them to make it fit better. So now we have it looking like this, and it'll fit perfectly across these two for soldering. So I can set that up with my solder gun. And before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and cut the trace wire, which is anywhere along this line right here. So you can do that with a razor blade, you can do that with what I'm using, but you just want to be sure that's perfectly cut across. Verify this, you can get your multimeter out and check continuity from this pin to this pin. Alright, you can see now it's cut there. There's no connection. I'll verify it. Nothing. On that side it connects, on this side it does not connect. So now I can go ahead and solder in the variable resistor right here. Alright, I've got my solder ready, my soldering gun, and my potentiometer variable resistor hooked up. So I'm going to go ahead and solder one side onto it. Alright. And then once it cools down, I'm going to double check the resistance to be sure it's set correctly before I put it back in place. And you increase it just a little bit because it got changed. So alright, we got it exactly at 840. Now we should be set to put this back in place. If you want, you can put a little bit of super glue on that dial so it has no chance of changing, but you know, in the future maybe you need to change it again, who knows. So I'm gonna leave it how it is because this car does not get driven much at all. Should fit perfectly right in place, no issues. Just like that. Alright, I could not find the reason why this odometer is not working. All the mechanical connections are good. I went through and cleaned up all the terminals to try and alleviate any connection issues. And I went back and checked the plug wire. So if it still doesn't work, then it's going to be the signal wire through the plug probably. it's a low chance that both the motors went bad, especially at its mileage. So we're gonna just put it back together and test it to see. All right, now that this is back in place, let's go ahead and test out, see if gauges work out. Alright, definitely does not read correct. Alright, so I got it all back together and it seems to be working right. I compared the tachometer value to my multimeter RPM gauge hooked up to the one cylinder, and they're reading about exactly the same. So I had to change the resistor value twice. So the resistor value I ended up with was 280,000 ohms. I started at 840, I think, but either my dash is a little bit different or the instructions on that page I was using was not correct. So let's see how it does. And it's reading right about just under 1,000, and you can actually, now it's an accurate reading. So now it's good to drive. Hopefully the odometer works now. I'll figure that out, but I hope this tutorial helped you out, and if you have this issue and that doesn't work, leave a comment below. But if it does work, let us know. So hopefully that helped. Thanks again. Be sure to like, subscribe.